Learning Perek Beis Halacha Dalet. Ein boikin lo yara lo vona lo yara cham lo yara avuko. Lo yara ner. Here the Rambam states that one is not boidik, not by the light of the moon, not by the light of the sun by day, not by the light of a torch, only by lo yara ner. The Rambam continues. Vamed v'mamurim. When you say this, you boidik lo yara ner. Bechurim u'machbois, in cracks and in holes. There, you can only do it with a candle to check it. Avalach sadra, a place which is open like a porch, she'oirav, or an atrium, has a lot of light. In bot kalor acham dayo, it's enough to do it with the light of the sun. Ve'emza achetzer. Also, the middle of the room, the middle of the courtyard, which is in front of the house, does not need to be checked because the birds find themselves there. They'll eat whatever chametz falls there. The Maggid Mishnah cites this source as a braysim sochim zayin and beis. Tana Rabbanan, Chacham learned, you do not make a bedika not by the light of the sun, the moon, or a torch, only for a candle, because the light of a candle, as we explained earlier, at night is better to check. And he brings furthermore that the Gemara on Chesam and Aleph says that what Rava says, that you can do it to the light of the sun, is talking only as we said, in a porch where there's a lot of sun. The Raisa, that you don't do it by the sun, is talking about even in front of the skylight, that one does not check by the sun. And they ask, where does it mean opposite the skylight you can't check? If it's in front of underneath the skylight, why not? It should be just like a porch. And the answer, the size of the room you can't do, even though the skylight is casting a lot of light. The Maggid Mishnah adds that the Yerushalmi questions, Zman B'dik is at night. What does the Brisa mean that you can't check by the sun? Is there sun at night? And the answer is that the Brisa is talking about he forgot to do it on the 14th, and therefore he has to do it on the 14th. Minat Torah, with Rabbanan, as we said, it's only to do it on the night before. The Maggid Mishnah cites ve'emza achotzer ein tzorach b'dika, that the middle of a courtyard does not need checking. Is also psochim chesam and aleph. Amarov achotzer ein tzorach b'dika. Chotzer doesn't need to be checked because of the ravens that are there, and it eats up any chametz that's there. And the Rambam and other Rishonim say only in the middle, but the sides need bedika. The Rambam says a porch which has much light. In both if b'diavad he did it by light of the sun, it's okay. It would seem if he only did it b'diavad, but to begin with not. So the question, because the mission questions from Sochim Chesam and Aleph. Omarova, Achsadro Loyer Nudekes. He would seem to be saying that you can do it to begin with. That you can do it right away without, not as a secondary option. You can leave it for the morrow and check it then. So Lecha Mishnah says that the proof is only that you have to check it at night, is from what the Gemara questions. It says one should not check by the light of the sun. In Achsadra, Rav says that you can do it. And if we'll say that Rav is talking about B'diavad, what's the question? It must be that Rav says Lo'era is L'chat Chila. Then the question arises, why does the Rambam write only if he didn't do it, then he can do it according by day, by light? Rabbeinu Manoach explains there are two reasons to check at night. That, as we said earlier, because the people are home at night, and secondly, by night the candle is better. So Rabbeinu Manoach says that that's Rambam is, since both you need both reasonings, and l'chatchila, one reason is still valid because people are home then. Therefore, you should not do it by the light of the sun. However, if you forgot, but it's okay, because the light of the sun will give you enough illumination. Furthermore, the Yerushalmi, Sochem Perek Aleph, Halacha Aleph, says, all places you do not check l'orachama. And Rava is talking, who says that one can do so, is talking about only b'di'evet, according to this Yerushalmi. Rae Manaya says the Babli, it would seem though that l'chatchila one would be able to check the achsadra, as the Gemara says, v'achsadra l'nofesh nahira, an achsadra which has much light, you check it even by the light of the sun, which seems to infer even to begin with. And that's what Rashi says as well. The Ravid says this is the din l'chatchila. In conclusion, the Lechem Mishnah says that what the Rambam writes in Bodku doesn't mean specifically so, because from the Gemara it's muchach she'asadra l'oyer nidekes afilu l'chatchila. Rae Gann Family explains that the middle of the chotzer, the courtyard, doesn't need bedika, because the birds are found there. That tells us that holes in the chotzer would need bedika, because the birds cannot get into the holes, and the Ravad agrees with him. Rae Gann Family also mentions that there are those who say that you don't need to, even the cracks in the chotzer do not need checking, because you can see that the birds actually peck away and clean it out. The Lechem Mishnah asks a question. You can't explain the Brisa that you can not check for chametz according to the light of the sun. It's talking about the chotzer, because Rava says any chotzer doesn't need bedika. He feels there's no necessity at all because the birds are there. And if the kavona is only in the middle of the chotzer, what does the Gemara ask from Rava? Shechotzer lo yitzriach bedika. He's only talking about the middle of the chotzer, and what we're talking about is we're talking about the size of the chotzer. Thus, we have to say, perhaps, that the Gemara answers just like when you have a skylight, you cannot check the sides. So too in a chotzer, you cannot check by the sunlight. However, the middle of the chotzer doesn't need bedika. That's what Rav is referring to. It doesn't even need bedika because the birds are found there. The Gra, Shulchan Aruch, Tivlam and Gimel, explains that the Gemara says the sides because the Rambam, its kavona is to the chotzer. It's not like the Magen Mishnah that the Rambam is talking about inside the room. Therefore, when they ask the question of what do you do for a skylight, that means a porch, and the answer Litzodim, meaning inside a room. So the Gemara says the Rambam had Girzas Ariv, that he doesn't talk about a skylight. What it means to the sides is only talking about the chotzer and not to the skylight. Rae Gann Family explains when it says not by a torch, because they used to use wood, pieces of wood, and use that, and that's that you cannot check by that light. Or it could be, even if it was candles of wax, they would do it more than one fire, that we do like Havdalah by Motzei Shabbos. But what we use, one wick, that's the best type of light, and you can check with that. And if he doesn't have that type of a candle, he can use the nair of oil that you use it in a vessel. There are 4 reasons why you do it only by the nair and not by a torch. Yitzchak says, because only with a small fire can you go into cracks, crevices, etc. Not with a torch, nor with Havdalah. Svid says that the nair, one light shows light in front of you, but a torch shows you behind. It casts shadows. and therefore you have to check what's in front of you. Papa says that from a torch one is afraid the house might take fire, and therefore he won't check carefully. The fourth one is that Haner is a straight light, whereas the Avuka jumps, and therefore it's not clear when you check. Shulchan Aruch in Orach Chaim Tevlamed Gimel Paskins. The B'dika has to be L'Orah Ner, not L'Orah Avona. And if he didn't check on El Daled, when he checks on by day, he should not use the sun as his light, only a Ner, like the Maggid Mishnah says, because you're not boidik L'Orah Chamo, even if you didn't check at night. V'achsadra, in a room like a porch or atrium that has a lot of light, if you check L'Orah Chamo, it's enough. Like the Rambam there, but you can be more yoitzer with that. The Mishnah Berurah explains Achsadro has 3 walls and a roof. One wall is completely open, therefore it has a lot of light. And the Mechaber, who says that if you check L'Orah Chamo, he's talking about when he did it b'diavad, as we learned till now. The Mishnah Berurah continues. Why does Rabbi Mechaber say b'diavad? Because l'chatchila, even an achsadra, an atrium, or a porch needs b'dika on the 14th. So it comes out that the reason why the Rambam paskins b'diavad, you only do it by the Orach Chamo, is because you have to do it at night. Only if you didn't do it at night, you can do it by the light of the sun, even without a candle. And he adds, the Mishnah Berurah adds, that to begin with, you shouldn't check on the 13th, even the Achsadra, meaning the day before the night, but he has to wait till the 14th. But the Evan, if he checked on the 13th, he doesn't have to do it again. But the Mogen Avraham writes that he should check again, even if he checked the room by the light of the sun, the atrium, and he should check it for sure, at least one room at night. The Mechaber adds that if he goes into a room which has a skylight, underneath the skylight you can check without a candle. So the Mishnah Berurah says, but the sides will not assist you to the light of the sun. And the Shulchan Aruch writes in Sif Beis, you don't use a torch, only a ner. The Mishnah Berurah cites the reasoning because it doesn't go into the cracks and the crevices, and also lest the house be lit. And further he adds, you don't do it with sticks, burning torches, because their light too is like a torch. The Mechaber continues, you can't use fatty candles, nor kosher fat or regular fat, and not oil, only a ner, a candle of wax. And Mishnah Berurah says in Sivkot and Tes and Yud, because a ner of chelev, he's afraid maybe it'll drip on the kalim and they'll become treif. Ner shemen, he's afraid to put them into the cracks because maybe it'll spill and the oil. And not like Rabbeinu Menoyach says, who says one is permitted to use an ner of shemen. The Mishnah Berurah continues, if he did it by a torch, the b'dika was no good, and he has to go ahead and do it l'orah ner yechidi. But b'ner shel chelev v'shel shumen, b'diavad it helps. V'shel shemen, there's questions amongst the achronim if it helps b'diavad abdika. The Ramah says the ner of shavo that he's boy has to be yechidi, an individual one. Avo shnei neros biyachad, even 2 candles together, even if they're like our havdolas that are twisted together, it's considered a torch. The Mishnah Berurah says, certainly, if he glue them together through the wax, it's called a torch. And the only reason he writes twisted, because he thought that's even more like one candle, and he tells us no. And the two candles, the two lights, add shadows. From the Pri Megadim, it seems, even if he holds two candles in one hand and he doesn't separate them, it also has a din of a torch. And Hashem will learn Perek Beis Halacha Hey in the next shiur.